Thanks everybody for joining another one of our weekly webinar in the series here. Today we're going to be talking about some troubleshooting tips and some other cool capabilities. I'm excited about this one because this is what I do. It's what we do in support, obviously. So I'm going to share some of the things that you guys can use to your advantage when troubleshooting, and show you guys a couple other cool things here. So we'll get started. Again, let me know in the questions section if there's any issues with audio or my screen sharing here. All right, agenda for today, we are going to be looking at the in-page help in the workspace. Show you guys some info about the log viewer, how to turn on debug logging and where that goes. Show you the contact utility and some advanced tactics and strategies. And a lot of this, I'm just going to show you some slides, but I'm going to do a full demo on everything at the end so we can get some good engagement. All right, so jumping into troubleshooting. So the first thing that I'm shocked at how many tickets I get on that people are unaware that this help button in the top right corner that's highlighted, that question mark, whatever page you're currently on, if you don't know, what the settings mean, how to configure it, just click on that help button and it takes you straight to the help guide for the page that you're currently on. So you don't have to weed through a 1,000-page manual. It's just straight to the page that you're currently on. If you switch to a different page, you go to a different section, click on the help file for that one, it'll pull up that one's help. So very easy, very helpful, and especially if you're not familiar with the new user interface, use that to your advantage. All right, so the log viewer, I felt like this was pretty important to go over because a lot of people that I've worked with don't know the full capabilities or how to use it maybe, so I wanted to throw that in here and make it a big focus point. So to access the log viewer, you just click on your Windows button, type log viewer. If your machine doesn't have indexing or can't search or whatever issue might be there on your machine, you can just open your Windows Explorer, go to the Win911 install directory, which is C, program files, x86, Win911 software, into Enterprise and Dispatcher folder. And there you'll see the log viewer executable. You can just run it from there, make a shortcut if you want to on your taskbar, your desktop, whatever you want to do there. So how can log viewer help? So you can check the status of your alarms that are coming in, right? That's the first thing you want to see when you're connecting to your SCADA or troubleshooting alarms. We need to see which ones we're getting. So it shows you the status of your active, your inactive, your acknowledged or unacknowledged alarms. You can acknowledge them through the log viewer as well. You can verify the strategy and tactic that the alarm called upon. And you can see all the notifications that were sent, make sure they went to the correct person, which execution it's going through. So, and again, I'll show you a demo on this, but huge tool for you guys to use to troubleshoot what's going on. So real quick before I get into each part of the log viewer and what it looks like, this is the sequence of alarming. Right, so you set up your alarms in whatever your data source is, your SCADA, iFix, FactoryTalk, InTouch, and then the alarm is set to a strategy, right? So you can see there in the screenshot, go into standard strategy, and then the next one is the strategy settings itself. What are you doing in the strategy? It's initial event starts a tactic, and then that tactic is your call out list, right? So alarm goes to the strategy. Strategy is a set of rules, and then it utilizes the tactic that you set up for the call out list. So pretty basic, but just to understand that flow, then we jump into how the log viewer is going to help you with that. So right away you can see that there's a couple of alarms in here, right? And going over the useful information for each one of these sections, you got the active alarm, and there's your alarm point. You got the iFix as the source, that's where it's coming from. And then probably the most crucial to see if your filters are working right or if your settings are right to the correct strategy is the strategy column. You can see here that one is hitting a critical system strategy and the other one is hitting advanced maintenance. This is telling you exactly what that flow is doing, right? So if you're getting the wrong call out or it's not getting to the right people or whatever the case may be, come here and check which strategy it's hitting. If it's hitting the wrong one, well, you got to change your filter or change the settings for that block. Depending on your SCADA, there's different ways to go about it, but make your alarm go to the right strategy, to go to the right tactic. You got the state icon, so that green triangle and red triangle on the far left side to show you whether it's active or inactive. So red triangle is active and a green is inactive. You have your See Recent Alarms search at the top there. So the alarms page is what's highlighted. You can see your alarms. The notification page, that's where it's going to go through all of the steps of notifying all of the people in the tactic. It'll show success or failures. You can also uncheck the auto update box, and then that will highlight what is right now grayed out on the top right for the search by date time. And then you can specify if you want to go back to yesterday, see what happened, or last week, however much data you have, and trigger a search for what you want to see for a specific time. Now, when you double click the alarm in here, this is another thing that quite a few customers I've worked with just don't know about, and that's it's not specified and shown in big bold letters like it is here. So that's why I wanted to add it. You double click an alarm from this screen, and it goes into the detailed view of that specific alarm. So this is what it looks like when you double click. You see the notifications. You can see it's dispatching to email Keith and success. That's who was notified. You got the acknowledgement tab for when or if the alarm was acknowledged, who did it. You got the strategy execution, which strategy did it hit. Your tactic execution, pulled straight from the strategy settings, and any state changes. So a lot of good info to troubleshoot what's going on when you get an alarm and maybe it's not working the right way that you'd expect. All right, on to debug mode. So we have the KB. This has been in multiple weekly webinars, so I'm going to throw it in here again. But the example here is we're going into the installation directory where Win911 is, going to the email. And you can see here in the email folder on the left side, there's the email runtime executable config file. You just want to open that file with a notepad, and where the red box is around logging flags, logging flags value equals default, you want to just change that to debug, file save, and go restart that service in your Windows services. So essentially those steps just make it log in full debug logging mode now instead of just the minimal defaults. And again, I'm going to go over this live with the demo and answer any questions and show you the logging level differences and how much it can help. And hopefully we'll get some good stuff from just my VM and those debug logs. This one I just wanted to bring up and talk about. If you're ever going to make a big change or do an upgrade, or I don't know, do some experimenting with your settings, or add a new source or something weird, just do a full system restore if you can, right? A whole restore point for your Windows while it's working. But if you can't or you don't want to do that, at least do a SQL backup, right? So you open up your SQL Server Management Studio, right-click your database, go to Tasks, Backup, and then it brings up that box on the right, and you just click OK. That'll save a backup for the default directory. You can change the destination if you want to as well. And that, the backup and restore procedures are in the KB, in the knowledge base, so it's out there if you want it. But I just wanted to urge people, before you make any big changes, take a backup, and if you can, do a full system restore for your Windows machine, for a restore point, rather. All right, so onto the contacts utility. Again, another thing that is shocking to me is how many people don't know about this. So we released this last year, and I wanted to kind of light a fire under it with this weekly webinar and show you guys a lot about contacts utility. I've done some experimenting on my VM, and I'll show you some cool stuff about it. But essentially, this was by high demand. Lots of people asking about how can I change the call out order or the schedule of people without giving them access to the workspace to go log in, to have full access, and then go into the tactic and then change the order there. So we made the contact utility. Now you can see just a quick screenshot here. Again, I will go over this in great detail in the demo part at the end here, but This is straight into your connections that you have in your system. It's just a little pop-up executable. You run it, and you can change your schedule, you can change the order, and all those things you want to change just from a window instead of going all the way through the workspace. So, and then advanced tactics and strategies. I didn't do a screenshot here because I wanted to show you guys this live in the demo. So just a reminder, we're going to talk about that. And now we're going to jump into the demo here. So if anybody cannot see my VM screen, please let me know before I move forward. You guys should all be able to see this. So this is just my test VM. And first thing I wanted to show you guys was the log viewer. So I'll try to keep this in order if I can remember my slides. So I have some in-touch alarms in here. Okay, you got the alarm points. They're active by the state. You can hover your mouse here, and now it's inactive, unacknowledged. Hover your mouse on the next one, active, unacknowledged. And you can see they're hitting my basic strategy, the time. And if you want to double click into one of these, this is that detailed information. So no alarm resulted in the notification events. So that's because that's inactive right now. We should be able to go to the strategy execution here and see that this initial event is going to start the tactic, basic tactic, right? So again, under basic strategy, it's hitting basic tactic. What does that tactic say to do? This is saying Jeremiah mobile, but I'm not currently scheduled, and that's because I took myself off of the always schedule and put it on never because I was getting blown up on my phone this whole time getting ready for this webinar. But you can see who it would have, and this is another great troubleshooting step, right? Like, why did my guy not get his mobile notification? Well, if you use this to your advantage, you'll be able to see exactly what we just found out. Connection Jeremiah mobile is listed in the tactic, but is not currently scheduled. Boom, there you go. Go change the schedule, make sure they're set to always or whatever the time frame they're supposed to be on. There's your problem. So super helpful. We got the state changes here. This is showing that it's active and unactive is the latest update. So very helpful tool again. And if you want to see previous, past information, all this at the top right, this is all grayed out. It's because auto updates checked. So uncheck that. And now you have display events from and to, right? So this just goes back a couple hours to 8 a.m. my time to 10 a.m. And you can see all of the previous information, the old alarms. If you want to go into the notification side of it to see not only the alarm, but who got notified, click on the notifications tab. And then you'll see this kind of flows the same way the old school V7 does. Just looks a little better in my opinion. But the alarm goes active, the alarm goes inactive, mobile notification to Sully, to Jeremiah, right? You're seeing the whole flow of everything for each alarm going active and inactive. So super useful. Remember to double click your alarm to see all the detail and use it to troubleshoot. All right, so that's log viewer. And now we want to talk about, where is it? In the workspace, the help file, right? So you're in the workspace, you don't know what this page means, you don't know how to create a tactic, just click on the question mark. If you don't have internet access on your machine, that's fine, this isn't going to load, but just copy this link that it pulls up, take that over to a machine that does have internet access, and there you go. This goes over the basic tactic, gives you the overview, an example, the name of every single field in there, what they do. All right, so now you understand tactic, but you don't understand how to add a user for mobile. You're in your connections and your mobile, hit the question mark. Takes you straight to that page. Super helpful. I use it constantly, and I've just noticed a lot of people do not use it, so I wanted to throw it in here for you. All right. Let me remind myself of my order here. And debug logging is next. All right, so Let's say that you are having an issue with the connection to the SCADA, for example, right? And this is the same across the board with whatever you're troubleshooting. If it's the email module, you're going to do this in email. If it's the voice module, you're going to do this in voice, etc., etc. You go into the Win911 directory, and for example, let's do InTouch. Here's the runtime for InTouch, and here's the config file. Okay, you can see here's application config file. Every single one of our modules has a config file and an executable. All right, so you're going to go into the config file, open it with Notepad. This line here, logging flags value equals default. You're just going to delete the end of default and make it debug. Control S to save or file save. Close it, and then you're going to go restart that service in Windows Services. Now, the InTouch runtime should be disabled and never running. That's a special use case, which is why I brought this up. InTouch runtime comes from this application, not a service, and usually customers have it called upon from your InTouch side. Whenever InTouch starts up, you can just script to start this executable, or you can manually do it. I have a little shortcut on my desktop, whatever you want to do. But at any rate, you're going to want to go ahead and restart that runtime. So you can see here is the InTouch runtime in my system tray icons. Right click and exit, and just relaunch it. There you go. So then it's logging in debug mode. What do you do then? Click on your start button, go to event viewer. Now in event viewer, this is where, you know, everything about the Windows operating system and all applications, security, everything is logged. You're going to want to expand this application services logs, and it'll take a minute to load. As soon as it loads, here's your whole list of all the application and service logs. You want to click on Win911. That's just our logs. All right, so let's go back in time a little bit from before I put this in debug. And oh, my voice has been in debug. As you can see, lots of voice runtime messages. But let's go back up to the top here where I started with the InTouch debug logs. And I'm getting flooded with voice right now. 1038. Oh, that's not even refreshed. Hang on. All right, here's the InTouch stuff, right? So you can see there's a lot of stuff that's logged every second when you're in debug logging, but you know, the best debug logging is you're going to see everything that's happening in the background. So if you're not getting alarms, right, it's going to show you a bunch of errors. But when you are getting alarms, you can see here total events received for debug log level is 3. Attempting to dispatch event. Subscription alarm initialized. Dispatching events, right? So what does it look like when something's broken? I guess I can show you that, right? So let's do, what do I have for this voice? The voice is really cool. It's going to show you all of the SIP messages back and forth with, for me, this is set up for a GrandStream device. But if you're using your own voice over IP server or SIP.us or the GrandStream, it'll show you the SIP messages back and forth. So my voice is trying to register right now, and you can just see we're sending that SIP message register to the IP of GrandStream, and my GrandStream is not connected, so we're just sending that message over and over, and eventually you'll see something like this, unable to register, registration timeout. But if it wasn't in debug mode, you would only have this one alarm, just unable to register, right? So good example of using debug log is we are sending the SIP message to register, so you get that information now, and now you know there's something wrong with the GrandStream not getting it or not responding, right? So all this deeper logging level information. When you're done, go back and edit the config file, change the debug back to default so you don't fill up your event viewer logs, and restart the runtime. Again, InTouch is one of the special ones that it's just this application. If it was anything else other than InTouch or iFix, those are the two that are special. Everything else is here in services. So you'd come here and restart the SMS runtime if you were trying to do debug on SMS. You know, email, dispatcher, anything else you're doing, those are all services here. All right. So that's debug logging, super helpful. You know, you can follow the path of just filtering out one source if you want to, right? So instead of seeing all this information for all the different modules, if you're not aware of how to filter Microsoft's event viewer logs, you can just do filter current log here on the right, and you can do critical, warning, information, error, select the source, go down to the W's for Win911, and let's say we just want to look at the InTouch module and runtime. And okay. Now we're filtered just for InTouch. We're not going to be bothered with all the other voice, dispatcher, email, SMS, anything else. When you're done looking at your issue for InTouch, clear the filter, back to normal. All right. Contact utility. Okay, so this is pretty cool. I actually just went through and followed one of our own KB articles because I had never done this before, but I set up the contact utility with a button in the SCADA. So real quick, I'll show you where the KB article is on that. If you just go to our, I'm just going to close this so you can see it from the beginning. You go to the website, win911.com, go to support, knowledge base, type in the word contacts. So how do you spell anything? All right, launch contact utility from iFix, launch contact utility from Factory Talk, launch it from InTouch window viewer. So I clicked on this guy, and here's the guide. Go ahead and have a look at it. Super simple, it just tells you how to make a button and call upon the contact utility. However, I am not a SCADA guy, right? I'm not a guru at the SCADAs. I'm a Win911 guy. So I was very intimidated and had no idea if it was going to work. I can barely open window viewer. So I went in here and followed those instructions to make a button called contact utility. And lo and behold, if you follow the KB, it works just fine. And it launches contacts utility. So this is pretty cool. And I'm going to show you a quick demo of this real quick. So again, this is a view into the settings that are already in your workspace, but you don't want to give full access from the workspace to everybody, right? Or you don't want them to break something if they don't know what they're doing. So you just give them this button. Now you select a basic tactic, right? I have just one in here. Here's my tactic, and right now it calls me and Sully on mobile. Say that I'm off schedule. I don't want to get the alarms, right? So in workspace, we can see, just close contacts utility real quick, that Sully right now is scheduled for never, and I am scheduled for never. And this was because I was getting flooded with those InTouch alarms before the webinar started. And we went and we saw that in the log viewer, right? We saw that you weren't on schedule. So how do you fix it? Launch contact utility from your SCADA HMI. Go to the connections, which is a word that I think should be just called contacts. And that change should be coming. And you can see right here, Jeremiah Mobile is on never. So change him to always. Save it. Go back to the workspace. Close this out because it takes up the screen. And I am on always. It worked. There you go. It's that easy. So Bob is taken off for the weekend. He doesn't want to be on call or whatever the case may be. Give him a button. Teach him how to go to connections. Change his schedule to whatever custom schedule you guys have created. Save it, and you're done. Now, this is obviously a pretty simple setup where my InTouch is right here and my Win911 is right here. But I'm going to go ahead and go one step further and show you the option for installing it on a different machine. So I don't have another machine. It's just my VM. but I'm going to show you real quick, all the way from the beginning, in case you're like, where do I even find Context Utility? How do I install it? What does that look like? I'm going to uninstall Context Utility and show you just how easy this is. So we're going to add remove programs, uninstall a program, and we're going to uninstall Context Utility. All right, so that's gone. And I've never tested this. If I click on this, it should give me an error. There you go. We can't find that. That doesn't exist. Cool. Now, you got your install directory folder, right? Your original installation media where you downloaded Win911. This example, I have 419.17. So this is where you first installed it, right? Here's the installer. Go to Tools, Contact Utility, run it. Next, I agree, next, finish. Done. Contact Utility is installed. First time you open it, again, this is just straight from the beginning. Specify the Win911 dispatcher host. Where is the rest of Win911, basically? Is it this computer? Is it another computer? So super easy. This computer, hit save, you're done. If you're running it from an HMI on another machine, select another computer, throw in the IP address of the dispatcher. Right, you can see that in the watermark if I don't click. Specify server name or IP address of the dispatcher server. There's even a little browse button here. Now I'm on the same machine, so I don't know if this is going to do anything, to be honest, but all you have to do is know the IP, and it's going to configure looking at the dispatcher service. Now, the other thing that's going to come into play here is there's a lot of permissions that go into Win911, right? All of these services for Win911, they run as, so nothing found. We're just going to go into this computer again so I can close this out. As you can see, install super easy, you're done. Now, all of the services for Win911 run as the local admin account that you use to do the install, right? This is all my Jeremiah admin account. So if you're trying to run Context Utility from, Bob's account over on the HMI, probably not going to have the right permissions. So a couple of things you can do. You can just run it as this account, or you can add the permissions to the Context Utility folder. Or basically, you're going to have to do it for all the folders for Win911. But to give you an example, you can right-click, more, and then run as a different user. If you're not logged in as your local admin account that runs everything, which, again, recommendation you should be, but if somebody doesn't know that, right, just run as a different user, and you can type in the username and password for that account. Coming from a different machine, that's coming into the whole realm of Windows authentication. So one account that's on machine A that does not exist on machine B, of course it can't authenticate across to that machine. You're going to need to add the account in both places. So go add a local account that's the same exact username, the same exact password, problem solved. All right, so that's Context Utility, and I'm pretty sure now that it's installed, if we just run this again, yep, so it works just fine. It's just looking at that executable directory that's installed. And again, if you don't know how to do this, how to make a button, an hour ago, I didn't know. Just pull up the document for how to make your button, and you're literally just calling on the executable in the Win911 directory. Super easy. All right. And now advanced tactics and strategies. So this was tough to decide on what to do for this. Because it's very rare that people are using advanced tactics and strategies, which I think is fine. If you can do what you need to do with the basic stuff, absolutely do that. But I also think maybe people don't know about it, or maybe don't know about the capabilities. So if that's you and you're interested in it, I wanted to just go through from scratch, not having anything set up that's fancy and confusing to look at, just from the very beginning, how to set one up and go through the functionality of it. So typically you're always going to be in here in your basic tactics, but if you bought the advanced license, or if you want to upgrade to the advanced license after this maybe, in the advanced tactics it works, it's a completely different beast, totally different. So click on add, and you can see the window here doesn't look anything like what you're used to if you're used to basic tactics, right? I'm going to give this just a name of test, and you basically have a start block. I'm just hovering my mouse on this because, I'm going to pretend like I have no idea what this is. Start block and an end block, and there's a line in between. So I'm assuming this is a path of what I want it to do, right? And over here you have some options: notification block, a notify all, there's a send report block, sub tactic, and then there's these bars underneath here. This is for notifications, and then you have decisions. Now what the heck do these do? Okay, this is an act decision block, tells you exactly what it does with the description. Active decision block, branch tactic progress based on whether or not the alarm is active at the time of evaluation, right? So if it's still active, it would go down the green path. If it's not active, it would go down the red path. Two different choices there. You got the schedule decisions, label decisions, security or severity, excuse me, and time span. And then there's a miscellaneous tab. This is a loop, so it performs a loop sequence, a delay, and an ACK block. This is automatic, or attempts to automatically acknowledge the alarm on behalf of the user. So you can literally make the tactic acknowledge it if it goes through all these things, notifies all these people, you loop it back around, you have some delays, and still nobody's seen it or acknowledged it, have it acknowledge it itself. It's an option. It's kind of cool. So let's just start simple here and say, okay, well, I want to notify someone. You click on it and you drag it over, and you let it highlight the blue line in the middle here, and you drop it. So now we have our first decision here, notification block. All right, what do you do? So double click it and then edit. And this is the same thing as in the basic tactic of just selecting who you want to be notified. So, okay, well, I want to notify myself on mobile. You have the option for ignoring schedules, wait for notifications to complete. I'm just going to notify myself first. Okay. All right, now let's kind of spice things up a bit here. Now I want it to wait for a while, so I grab a delay block, drop that in, click it, edit, wait 1 minute, and save. And then after a minute, we'll notify somebody else. Notify Sully on mobile. Boom, there you go. And now you have these zoom in and out buttons, which makes this nice. You can see the whole flow. Get way out there with a huge, crazy, complex situation, or zoom in real close. All right, so then what else should we do here? Let's do maybe a loop so we can repeat this, see what happens. Okay, so the loop is saying loop once. So you can set that to a higher number. And then there's a little arrow path here for what it's going to loop. All right, so let's do loop a delay. Will that work? I don't know why we would loop a delay, but let's just say we want it to loop with a delay of a minute. Okay. And during that loop, we're going to notify everybody. In the notify all, you can edit this, and it's going to show you all of the different labels or roles rather that you can put in here. So this is literally notify everybody, or you can just select, managers and operators. I guess it's just one at a time actually. So let's do managers. Save that, and we'll zoom out. We'll save it. All right, so you click on test. It should give you a picture of what's going on here now. All right, this is what I wanted to bring up when it breaks, and I love the fact that this broke because this is what happens quite often when using advanced tactics. And there's an easy way to fix it. So right now you can see that these arrows are not lining up. And yeah, I'm just going to be completely transparent and forward. The drawing tool that we used, this third-party drawing tool, is not the best. However, it's not the end of the world. When these arrows are broken and they're not connected where they should be and they look a little wonky, the tactic is broken and it's not going to work the right way. So not a big deal. Zoom out until you have the whole picture. Click edit. Zoom out until you have the whole picture. Click save. And now the arrows are fixed. I don't know why this third-party drawing tool has such a problem with that, but again, just zoom out till you see everything and click edit. Zoom out till you see everything and click save. And then it gets the drawing right. So, I mean, now you kind of have a more complex situation here, right? So it notifies me. Zoom in here. It waits a minute, notifies someone else, goes into a loop where it's going to notify the managers and wait 1 minute. And if you want to continue to bother the managers forever, you can edit this loop count. Let's just say 99 times, right? Just going to constantly bombard them until somebody acknowledges it. And now we're going to take a look at the decisions here. So act decision block. We'll drop that down here. And you can see we have 2 different paths now. So this is saying, is it act, is what this branch means. If it is act, if it's green, yeah, it goes over here. And we can go ahead and do, actually, if it's act, just go to stop tactic, right? If it's not, maybe we have your last decision here for notify all and edit that. And we're going to do all the managers again. You know, I'm getting kind of crazy into this, but just wanted to show you what you can do with these. It's pretty cool, actually, how you can get pretty complex with these and make advanced tactics do some awesome escalations for you. So we have this whole chain, loops to these people. Is it act yet? Yes, it's act. It goes to the stop. That's the end block. It's over. If it's not, it goes and notifies all the managers again. Right, so pretty basic example, but you get the gist of it. Wanted to go over that with you guys. So that's the tactics side. That's your call out list, right? Now there's also advanced strategies. And this one I'll be quick about, and then we can get to questions and some polls. But in here, you have this advanced mode button. Now please don't ever touch this button if you don't have an advanced license, or if you're in demo mode. Please don't ever touch this button. This is what breaks everyone's license when they finally do license their system and they only bought, they didn't purchase advanced, but they made a whole bunch of these advanced mode strategies. That's not good. You're gonna have to delete them and recreate them as basic. But this is an example of what a basic strategy is. You have this button available still, right? So if you see this advanced mode button, you're in basic mode, you're good. But to give you an example of some of the cool things you can do with the advanced mode, now you get to break out and add a whole bunch of different rules instead of just the basics. Call out this tactic and re-notify on state change and stop condition. That's the 3 options basically. Now you can do initial event, start tactic, any alerts, alarm state change, re-notify. Let's say upon timer of 1 hour, start a different tactic. Choose the advanced one we just made, right? And then after that, let's say that I don't know, upon repeat timer, quality change, condition change. What else could we do that would be cool in here? Maybe the alarm becomes inactive while this is processing. Then we can start a whole nother tactic. And we'll do notify all. And then the alarm becomes acknowledged. we will stop everything by doing stop strategy, and we can delete this guy. All right, so another quick example here that you can do some timers, alarm state changes, alarm becomes inactive, do a different tactic, alarm becomes acknowledged, stop strategy. Lots of different options in this drop down field for the advanced stuff. And then you can go call upon those advanced tactics as well. The other cool thing is if it's acknowledged, you don't have to stop the entire strategy if you don't want to. You could do stop all tactics. You can just do stop specific tactic and then specify that one that you want to. So we'll say we'll stop the notify all. There you go. And then the very end here, we will do when alarm is terminal. All right, so there is our advanced one with a whole bunch of crazy steps in there. And again, if you don't know how to do this, click on the question mark, it'll take you to the help. We also have plenty of, you can see here, policy condition notes, plenty of documentation, videos on specifically that, but I wanted to share it with you guys. All right, so I think that about does it for what I wanted to show you in the demo. Now, real quick, for those of you that stuck around, we're going to have a couple of poll questions real quick, go over your questions, but I wanted to show you what we're working on. So the new desktop UI design, we are working full steam ahead on that. That's our main focus in development right now. So brand new desktop UI. We're getting away from Silverlight, which is the Internet Explorer, which I don't know if you don't know what I'm talking about here, then go back to my VM. This is our UI, right? This is user interface. You have Internet Explorer, and this is based on Silverlight. And Silverlight is gone, almost end of life, and it's not good. So we're replacing it with something better. So we're replacing it with a WPF desktop application. So if you're familiar with V7, where you just clicked on an app on your desktop, the configurator, we're going to go back to something more simple and away from the Silverlight UI and Internet Explorer. It's going to remove the IIS dependency, decrease resource usage quite a bit. So all good things, very exciting. I cannot wait for this. It's very cool. Redundancy, we're also working on automatic failover to the backup Win911 and syncing that configuration of the databases. So when you make a change on one, you don't have to go make a change on your backup. It should be synced. We're also working on OPC UA, alarms and conditions. Right now, we only support OPC DA. Pop these out here. Okay. Harrison Ting says, can't find contact utility and the log viewer looks different. Is this because I have an older version? Oh, yeah. So we just came out with the contact utility last year. You're going to want to upgrade to our latest version as soon as you can. Harrison Ting. Latest version on our website. You can download it at any time. Just go to our website, go to software downloads. Actually, I'll show you that just because I like when people can see it and they don't have to get lost. So go to our website, win911.com, go to products, download Win911. And then this is going to take you to a quick little fill out some information and submit, and then you'll get straight to the downloads page. Our latest version is 4.20.5. So plan that, and you'll get all the new features. And then another question here, I don't see the contacts utility. Yeah, you're 3.18.9, so you need to download our latest as well. I believe we released it in 4.19.9, I want to say, or maybe 4.19.5, but that doesn't matter because you won't have access to the in-between versions anyway. Just grab the latest on our website, which is 4.20.5. Question from Harrison Ting again, is there an easier way to mass edit alarms if using OPC? Yeah, we get that a lot, and unfortunately, I don't have a good answer for you there. There's no way to mass edit. You have to go through and make each alarm individually. If you want to chance it and get a DBA or do some research on SQL databases, you can do a query there and change alarm values or do mass edits to the SQL database. But from the support perspective from us, we're not going to support that, and we're not going to do that for you. And you might screw up your databases. So make sure you take a backup, and you can do some queries and try to mass edit there. But from the UI perspective, you have to make your alarms one by one in there. Blake Miller, I knew nothing. It was all helpful. Thank you, Blake. I'm glad it was helpful. Hopefully you got some good tools in your tool belt now and can do some troubleshooting. You write the InTouch alarm side at Aviva. Oh, awesome. All right. Well, I could pick your brain all day, Blake. Okay. Any other questions? You guys can type them in now, or you can even unmute yourself and we could chat. Anything else for me before we close up here? All right. Next webinar on deck is GE Simplicity. Oh, we got one last question. Mike, if we download the latest version of the software, we need to relicense. No, you do not have to relicense. Well, I should take a step back. It depends on what version you're coming from. If you're coming from the old V7, then yeah, you're going to need to relicense. But if you're already at the new software, 3.18.9, you should be just fine to run the upgrade in place. Make sure you're on a supported, operating system and all that stuff is good. Go to our system requirements page. But if you're running 3.anything, you should already be good to go. Just run the installer, upgrades everything in place. Your license stays where it is. Everything's fine. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for sticking around. Hopefully you got something good out of this, and I'll stick around for just a couple minutes if anybody wants to unmute and chat about any questions. But other than that, thank you, and have a fabulous rest of your week.